vote on the news. And here's the winner. There's a huge, hidden, heavenly body right here in our solar system. Evidence is mounting that either a brown dwarf star or a gas giant planet is lurking at the outermost reaches of our solar system, far beyond the planet Pluto. According to the British newspaper The Independent, the object is 4 times the size of Jupiter. Experts say the presence of such a massive object could explain why a barrage of comets has been coming from that direction.
Could there be more planets in our solar system, Martha? Some scientists now say yes. British and Spanish astronomers say that there may be at least 2 more planets hiding behind Pluto, which still doesn't count as a planet, by the way. Ripped off. Mike Massimino is a former NASA astronaut and professor of engineering at Columbia University. How are you, sir? What's it matter?
Well, if this would be a major discovery, if we can find that if there actually are more planets in our solar system, it would be a major find. Would it affect our daily life? Maybe not so much, but certainly we have to rewrite a few of the astronomy books.
I got you. So I always thought there were 9 planets.
That's what we learned. That's what we learned when we were kids.
I'm wrong. Now, what's the deal?
When we were kids, it was 9. Then there was a controversy a few years ago. They said no, there's only 8, and now there may be some more out there. So it just goes to show you we keep finding more and more stuff.
And Pluto's not living up. Now listen. How do they go about determining there's another planet out there? How do we find that? How do we locate it?
This is what I find to be most interesting. You know, as an astronaut, I got to work on Hubble. But I was like the repairman. I don't look through the telescope, but we talk to these astronomers how they use a device like the Hubble Space Telescope, or how these guys made their discovery. They look for evidence. They find things and they don't know why they're seeing this evidence. So what they found, there's a bunch of rocks out beyond Pluto, way out there in our solar system. that were being disturbed more or less by gravity. Their pattern was not as it normally would be. Naturally occurring, they were just those objects floating around. So they see something else pulling on them and disturbing the orbit, and they don't know what that is. So the theory that they have is that there's more planets, really big ones, way far away.
So it's based on,
the solar system.
it's possible they have not even seen these planets.
Yeah, I don't think they have. In fact, there's no. The only evidence that I'm aware of that I've read about here is that it's a gravitational attraction, and the only way, one of the ways that they would explain this is to say that there's other planets out there. It's if you know, with the Hubble Space Telescope, dark energy and dark matter, and this is at the Intrepid Museum now. They have the Hubble at 25 exhibiting. You see some of the stuff. They talk about things like gravitational lensing. They can, which means they can look on a lens. There's a picture of this in the museum where you can see the bending of light. And so the light can actually bend, and they can measure the bending of light. And they would say, well, what matter is around here that's causing that bend in the light? And then they say, well, there's got to be so much matter, but they can only recognize a portion of the matter. That's why they come up with dark matter. So there's more stuff out there than we can account for. We can measure gravitation.
The possibility that it's emitting light, right? Or it's sending light back, and that's how you would locate it.
Right. So
it would reflect the light of the sun.
Yeah, but they don't know what this stuff is. So they call it dark matter, for example. In this case, what their hunch is that it's a planet that's out there that's causing this gravitational
Are you going to be okay with this?
Yeah, I think this is cool. I think what it shows you is, you think you know something and you don't. We really don't know what's going on. Dark matter, dark energy, we only can recognize like 10% of the energy in the universe, 10% of them. We don't know what the heck is going on out there. Very exciting stuff.
And quickly, when you were growing up, you memorized the planets in a very peculiar way. And what was that again?
It was my very educated mother just served us 9 pizza pies.
She did.
And each one of those words, that gives you, you're starting with Mercury, Venus, or right there. And we're going to have to update that. We got to come up with names, too. I don't know what they're going to do. So
they make more pizza.
Something. All right,
Thank you,
Thanks for having me.
See you.
was the time of Joseph, where the 7 years of drought and the 7 years of plenty. About midway through that drought is where we estimate that the planet had occurred. You had about 3.5 years of drought coming in, and about 3.5 years drought as it was leaving. At the same time of Joseph, but just in another country as we look at it today, was the same area. It's still the territory of Egypt, but that was Job. If you read the story of Job, within the first few lines, it shows that his flock and his shepherds were destroyed by fiery hail. And then about 2 or 3 more sentences down, you see where his sons were having a party at a feast at one of their homes, and the home caved in, which is very probable that the pressure wave from these meteorites caved in the house. So if you read Job carefully, you can actually see the details.
Job,
yeah.
You know, I saw also when I was reading through your website and your writings, you referenced also an event that was very historical in the scripture, Joshua's long day. Tell us about that.
That one was proved out some physics that I had to even show to a physics professor, and he said that I was the first one to ever prove logically how Joshua's long day could have actually happened in a logical manner that meets planetary physics. The model showing that for Joshua's long day, that Earth passed through the magnetosphere, because the magnetosphere is pointing opposite of the sun, and Earth was close enough where it passed into the magnetosphere, and it passed just in front of us. Now the Talmud, again giving us some data, said that Joshua and his men saw an object that was 50 times larger than the moon. If you read the story of what took place, the Earth slowed down to give him 12 hours longer daylight so he can finish off his enemy. Now, God told him the previous day to go and conquer his enemy that's 10 times larger than him. He only had 30,000. The army was 300,000. And he said, don't worry, I will deliver them to you. Okay? He gets there in the morning. The army is frightened because the sun is delayed coming up. And he comes in charging, and they start to run. And he starts to slaughter them. Then a meteorite shower comes within the sight of his men and Joshua, and annihilate more of the enemy than he did with a sword. Now, how accurate can a person be with a meteorite shower where you're in view of it and it's only your enemies that is being wiped out?
Smart rock.
And tell you ahead of time that this is going to happen.
Well,
and
the Lord is able to direct those rocks, isn't he?
Exactly. And he can tell you what's going to happen before it happens. He's the only one that's able to tell time, the future. And Earth traveled through the magnetosphere of this planet, and that's what caused the rotational delay of 4.5 to 5.5% per hour compounded hourly, and you get the Earth to stop, as it claims. The model proves this out.
King Hezekiah, I think it's really, really important too, is we see the calendar days are being changed here biblically also during that time.
Well, also secular. Pretty much globally, when you look at the different calendars, they all switch from a 365-day calendar to, a 360-day calendar to 365.
Mm-hmm.
What took place for everybody to decide to change the calendar? Because that would have thrown off, if they said, if a person was to say, well, they just weren't that accurate, well, that doesn't jive. And that's not likely, okay, because of these ancient observatories. You know when the shadows are lining up to where you know where the equinoxes are. So they know exactly how long a year is. So this event, when Planet X, or 7X I call it, came by during Hezekiah time, this is what caused the shadow to go backwards on the steps, 10 steps. In the King James it says sundial, but in the Hebrew it says steps. If it was a sundial, which doesn't add up, because that means Earth's rotation would have to not just stop but reverse. You're looking at oceans coming over the side of the continents at tremendous heights. So that just doesn't add up. But if you have a window facing south with the shadow coming in on steps, as the text is implying, then you have a tilt of the Earth of 26 to 28 degrees, which is a repeat multiple times found in history. Now the tilt is like when two magnets are approaching, bar magnets are approaching. There's a magnetic attraction that causes them to lean. Then when one gets further away, they go back to their normal position, except for crust slippage. Your continents slip a little bit.
So that you're alluding to the kind of the same Earth pole shift that took place, back in the times of Job and stuff too.
Right. The shift is not permanent.
No, it's a temporary.
But you will have some part where, because of the crust slipperage, because continental crust is sitting on top of ocean crust. They're not glued in. They're only held on by gravity. That's why your continents are able to move. Well, you end up having these continents twist and shift. The largest I found was 14 degrees. And but the common one is around 8 to 7 degree shifts.
Okay.
We can use astronomy because in the Bible there's key points that point to astronomy lineups. Like for when Yeshua was born, that was a literal sign in the heavens where the king planet, Jupiter, lined up with Regus, which is the king star, in the constellation of Leo. When those two lined up, that was the King of Kings being born in Judah. One of the most documented events was Yeshua's sacrifice. It's documented not just in the Bible but in secular history, that there was an eclipse that darkened the whole earth 3 hours. for a solar eclipse, you need the moon to be in between Earth and the sun. Mm-hmm. It can only darken the Earth for 3.5 minutes. 7.5 minutes maximum. And that's only a spot on Earth. That's not the entire Earth. For you to have a 3-hour darkness, you need an object roughly 7 diameters of the Earth at a given distance to give us a 3-hour darkness. This happened on Passover. That means the moon was on the wrong side of Earth. It takes a new moon to make a solar eclipse, not a full moon like what's required for Passover. So we're talking about that described event gives us enough data that describes a third object. All the data, all the planets are warming up, and so it can't be man's pollution that's affecting the other planets. Therefore, we have to have an outside force away from Earth that's affecting all of us. And that's what the data is showing, because you have elevation in volcanoes, you have elevation in earthquakes, weather patterns, tornadoes, and even the magnetic north is moving 12 times its normal rate towards the geographic north of Earth. That's way out of norm. And so with all of these bird and fish and animal deaths, that's mostly because those types of animals like fish and birds are very sensitive to methane. And when the rocks are shifting, they release methane, and it gets in the water or gets in the air, and they'll drop dead instantly. But that's the reason why we're seeing birds drop out of the sky and fish die, because fish are also very sensitive to methane and they'll instantly die like that. So there's much more activity going on because of we can see this because of the deaths of how many animals we're seeing.